You're listening to The Flickcast, a pop culture podcast about stuff nerds love. I am Chris Ulrich, and joining me, of course, Joe Dilworth. Hello, Joe. How are you today?
I am well. I am well. How are you?
I'm good. I did not use any of my adjectives to describe you today because I know that annoys you, so I decided not to.
Apparently, I'm not esteemed anymore, so that's fine. That's okay. I'm
No, I
okay.
think
I'm
what it
okay
comes.
just being your average Joe. I'm good with that. So
That's good. I like that. That
yeah.
wasn't a pun you saw coming at all. No, I.
No,
It
no.
seemed to bother you, so I decided not to do it anymore.
Well, it sets the bar high, and I'm like, I don't know if I can
Well,
meet that every week.
I
So,
have high expectations for you, and you have met them and exceeded them every other time. So I have no
well,
doubt that will continue.
thank you, M. I appreciate that. Anyway,
Sure, no problemo.
ah, so we're back again this week. This is I'm just going to say this, and I'm not going to jinx us, but this has got to be some kind of record, isn't it?
You mean a record for uninterrupted episodes?
Yeah.
It was. I think the only time. Well, I don't remember where that was. I got my COVID shot, and so I had to miss that one episode. But for the most part, we've released an episode every week. We both haven't been in all of them because there
No.
was a few times that you weren't available either. But yeah, it's going pretty well. I would say. I mean, only the audience knows for sure whether it's going well or not.
Yes, maybe we
But
should leave them to judge.
right. Speaking of that, if you want to judge the show, you can go to Apple Podcasts and give it a rating at Apple Podcasts, or even a review if you feel inclined. Or you can find it at Spotify, or you can find it at Google, or any of the other places that you find podcasts. And also, you can go to the Patreon if you want, patreon.com/TheFlickcast, and give the show
Yeah.
$1 or $2, whatever you can. Whatever you can is super helpful. It only goes back to the show to hopefully make it better. Although I don't know if any amount of money can improve on this, frankly, because it's already great. It's
I
already super
mean,
gold.
yeah, we're kind of dialed in and at the pinnacle right now, and
The
it just
pinnacle,
keeps
yeah.
going, man. So,
It's like they say, it's a slice of fried gold, right?
yes, fried gold. That
Fried
would,
gold, which is an amazing kind of saying. I really appreciate it because who doesn't love fried things? And then gold is also amazing. So fried gold cannot be anything but spectacular.
it would be tremendous. Absolutely, I think so.
Tremendous. So, all right.
Yeah.
Well, we got a lot to talk about today, and we tend to not get to the point quick enough. So, we're going to talk about Foundation. We're going to talk about Why again, and of course, What If, the penultimate episode of What If.
Yes,
So, I finally got to use the word penultimate, so that's pretty exciting.
you've been saving that one. Huh?
I've been saving that one for this week, strangely enough. And so, and we're also recording on a Sunday again, so I'm confused about what day it is. And I also left the house to have to go to a restaurant yesterday. That was confusing. But
I've given up with what day it is. My alarm
Yeah.
will whenever my alarm goes off, it'll be like, oh, it's that time. Oh, it must be a work day. I'll go to work today.
And this is a totally random aside, but on my desk is also my giant tray of dice from when I play D&D, and I looked over at them, and all of my 20-sided dice are facing a 20. All of the 20s are sitting up.
Ooh,
So that's interesting. I'm not sure why that is. I think my kid might have come in and done that, but whatever. It's good. I like it. It's a good omen.
speaking of dice and rolling,
Oh, yeah.
there is a pub in Canada, and I'll have to look it up so we can post it for
There's a
a
pub
lot
in
of people.
Canada?
Yeah,
Wow, what is it?
crazy.
That is weird.
But it is so. I would imagine you don't have to do this because money is good, but you can do stuff like roll for a shot of liquor. So depending on what you roll, it'll determine what you get. But they also have a burger ordering form that's basically set up like a character sheet for D&D. So you roll for your stats to determine what goes on the burger. I think that's kind of fun.
That
I
is
like
fun.
that.
But what if you roll like double bacon, onions, and whatever, like Vegemite? Do they have Vegemite in Canada? No, that would
No,
be
that's
an Australian
Australia.
thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it's like something you don't want. It's like I can I roll a savings throw so I don't have to eat this?
That's right. Can I roll to save? Oh, I didn't.
Damn
okay.
it! So I got to eat this liverwurst or whatever it is.
Right, right.
It's
I
a
don't
tongue-
think
it's a-
it's quite
tongue
structured that
sandwich.
way. But,
They don't hold you to it. They don't make you eat something you don't want. That's nice.
well, I mean, they're also, it doesn't. They're also leaving it up to you. I mean, you could roll and go, yeah, maybe I'm going to pick this instead. Maybe I rolled
So-
a 6 instead of a 4. So
There you go. Yeah. So they're not holding you to it. Holding
no,
you
I don't.
to
I
it,
don't think so.
That's good. That's good because that'd probably be a
But
bad business model. Well, you rolled that, so suck it.
Yep, you're gonna have to eat the pineapple and liverwurst burger.
Oh
So
God, that sounds amazing. So yeah,
it
we'll
it
drop
just sounds fun, man.
we'll drop that link in the show
We
notes.
should I think that needs to be a road trip. We need to do a show from that.
From the Dungeons and Dragons pub in Canada.
Yeah, wherever it is. I
Okay,
don't know.
okay.
Maybe I'm
Well,
just making it up, but I'm pretty sure
it
it's
could
real.
be. If that doesn't exist, it should exist. I would say. And if you are interested, and I'll just promote myself. If you are interested in watching me play Dungeons and Dragons, you can do that on
Yes.
Sunday nights on Twitch at Whiskey and Waffles. I do play D&D every Sunday, although we didn't play last week because a few players had some problems, and the DM, although a great cool guy, just does not want to play with like two people. So I don't really blame him. He goes to a lot of trouble. John Engie is his name. He goes to a lot of trouble to make the world amazing. It's his world that he created, this world Aldgate, and if he preps a lot and then like only two people can come, it's not really fair to him. So we had to pull the plug last week, but this week. And we're gonna be doing it, or next week, I guess technically, because this show comes out on Tuesdays.
Yes.
So the following Sunday, it's gonna be off the hook. Anyway,
Funny enough, when I went actually with people to breakfast the other day, I did get chicken and waffles. So there you go.
that is interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure how they came up with whiskey and waffles. It's an interesting. I mean, it was something that Flickcast was doing for a while. It was another podcast and like an unboxing video series that we created for the website, and so. It's John Carl who used to be a writer for the show, for the site, and so he spun off to do that with Wally, who was also a writer for the site, and they started their own thing. But now John is one of the players in the D&D game. So
Well, whiskey goes with everything. I mean,
it kind of does, and I like waffles, and I don't
see?
drink as much whiskey as I used to because frankly it just makes me feel like shit the next day.
Yeah.
But waffles are awesome. Yeah, I haven't had waffles in a while. So anyway. We were going to start the show, and we didn't.
Well,
You know what? That's totally my fault. Oh wait, no, I
That's
think it was
all
your fault this time. So,
yeah, it was my fault. So
do you want to start with foundation, or do you want to start with why, or do you want to start with what if?
let's start with the good stuff. What if?
Okay, what if? Yeah, okay.
Spoiler.
What if? Yeah, spoilers for what if you haven't watched it. But the episode was what if Ultron won, right?
Yeah.
So, amazing episode. Almost nothing in this
Yes.
episode that I didn't like. Almost nothing that didn't make me go, "Oh, awesome!" Especially like the Galactus Easter egg. That was
Yeah.
so cool. And also, what happens to Thanos is pretty funny.
I thought that was great.
And he just comes out and goes, "Oh," and then that's it. It was pretty funny.
Yep.
So, yeah. Snicket or whatever it is.
Yes.
I can't think of my correct comic book sound effects, but isn't Snicket that was when Wolverine's
Snicked,
claws
yeah.
come out? Okay.
Yeah.
God, why do I know that? That's sad. Oh, I'm a nerd. That's why. But yeah, great episode. Amazing to see the Watcher finally
Get
on his
involved.
get involved and put on his armor. He's like armoring up to fight fucking Ultron. But so the premise of the episode is what if Ultron was able to complete his inhabitation or his whatever, complete the Vision body, and get into that. It's the Ultron we saw in the previous episode who shows up at the end of Thor party, right?
Yes.
So
exactly.
it's Ultron Vision, and he's got the Infinity Stones, and he's got all that stuff. So we see how that happened, and at some point things get so bad that the Watcher's like almost at the point of interfering, especially with Barton and Natasha in the vault.
That was great. He's like, it's right there.
It's right there, dummies. It's right It's right there. Keep going. It was good. It was great. Jeffrey Wright's delivery was awesome, but
Yes.
it's just such a good episode. But you got to wonder, and something that I wondered about is like all the super powered heroes basically got wiped out. But how did these like sort of regular people survive? Because Barton and Natasha are like the weakest Avengers in a way, if you think about it, and they're all around, and yet everyone else got killed. So
It's probably like, I mean, that's been done in other stories. It's like, how come all the powerful guys are dead? And it was probably that it was like, well, he's just an archer and she's just a spy. Why waste the resources and energy on them? Obviously, now they're at that point in the story, they were a bit more of a thorn in the side than they probably were envisioned in being. So it was probably like, whatever.
Yeah, and Barton got a brand new arm. That was funny.
But you would think like Ultron or anybody in those stories where they leave like the street level characters alive would have read or have seen popular fiction in their universe and go, maybe we should wipe them out first.
Maybe, yeah, they're going to be the ones that hang out, and they're going to be hard to kill like rats.
Right, and they're going to be the ones that are going to end this. So maybe we should kill them first.
I just think that they're just really good at hiding. Having been,
well, that could be too.
Yeah, and they having been underground so much, and having their skill set is to not be discovered, whereas the Avengers, like Tony Stark, was like out in front basically, and Captain America's out in front. The Hulk is there, Thor is there, and so it's like they're very visible. So those are the ones, the mightiest ones, you destroy first. But if Ultron's being efficient, right, as a machine, then he would end up killing everybody, including So that makes sense that they were last, maybe if you think about it from a standpoint of power level. We'll destroy the biggest ones first and work our way down. And we don't know really the time frame necessarily about how long it took for Ultron to do this. I mean, it could just be weeks, right? It could have been just
exactly.
whatever. I mean, long enough for Barton to lose his arm and get an Ultron robot arm, which was interesting, but not long enough for it to for Ultron to have succeeded. And I gotta say, the animation on this show I feel like has improved over the episodes, but there was probably one of the most beautiful like panels of animation I've seen in this entire show when Barton is jumping down and all the Ultron bots are coming up towards him and he's coming down. It's like that was amazing. That was really beautiful.
That was really cool. Yes.
Yeah, it was super cool. And you're like, what an ironic sort of twist. Like he's doing this same thing, sort of a reversal of what happened to Vormir in the MCU movies. But
exactly.
But yeah, it was just, I don't think there was anything really that bothered me about this episode. There wasn't anything that was like, oh, come on. It all worked really perfectly, and of course, it reinforces and finally brings back, or proves our theory, I guess.
Yes.
And not just our theory, but a lot of people's theories, all the nerds, that it's all interlinked, and there's going to be the ultimate, finale that the Watcher is going to do the multiverse Avengers, basically, right? And so,
because
he's got his first recruit already.
Yeah, he's in Dark Strange's little bubble at the end. Probably the I like that for the reason it's like, oh, that's probably the only place he could hide from Ultron. Makes sense.
Not only that, but it's the only person who probably has a chance against Ultron. It's another Nexus being, because obviously Strange became a Nexus being when he did all this stuff, and so it's like this is the only person I can turn to that I can think of right now. Obviously, there's more because in the trailer they show Thor and they're talking about like zombies. So zombie Thanos might join up, and
Captain Carter.
Captain Carter's in the trailer, so obviously she's going to come back, and there's other people around. I think it's going to be like a whole like on your left scenario where there's a fuck ton of multiverse Avengers coming to defeat Ultron. So I'm really looking forward to this final episode. I mean, it won't be a final episode, obviously, because I think there's going to be a season 2 of What If.
They're already working on it. So
what if there was a season 2? And so we'll get some resolution, I would imagine, but there's gonna be more questions.
Yes.
And if this is all canon for the MCU, then I got to think more and more that the Doctor Strange in the Spider-Man trailer is this Doctor Strange and not the other one, not the real.
I'm kind of convinced that even if that's not who that is, that he's going to be in the movie at some point, because I bet they defeat Ultron and he's like, I'm not going back to my bubble. I'm going to go take off and
I'm gonna live my life, man.
Right.
And I don't really learn my lesson because
I'm evil, but
but also in MCU, Doctor Strange had to go through a whole bunch of shit to learn his lesson, whereas this guy, he destroyed his entire, galaxy or whatever universe.
Yeah.
But I still don't think. I think he's just corrupted by all the influences, all the demons and stuff that he's absorbed. He's never going to be a good guy, and so this one of these things will help create the multiverse of madness. Right? It's like there's going to be all this weird shit, and so I also wonder now if it turns out that Wanda will not necessarily be a bad guy in the multiverse of madness, but will be an antagonist to evil Strange.
Right. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too. It's like they want, I think, they kind of lean towards, hey, listen, Wanda's going to go nuts in this, and it happened in the comics, so people are going to expect it, but they're going to kind of take, like you said, the left turn, where she's actually really fighting and preparing against evil Doctor Strange. So yeah, no, I think that would be cool. I'm
Well,
looking forward to that.
she's gonna. The thing that's gonna. Obviously, she went into a dark hole at the end of WandaVision, but
Right.
the thing that's gonna snap her out of it is her kids are alive in the
Right.
multiverse because she realizes, like they all like, oh, why is the Watcher there? She's powerful enough to sense the multiverse, right?
Right.
So, in theory, the Watcher is watching her at that moment, even, or maybe she senses him when she looks up and it's him. Who
Yeah.
knows? But she hears the kids, right? And so she's going to realize, oh, they're alive in a different universe, or a different multiverse, and all this shit's happening. And now the multiverse has been destroyed by Kang and Loki and this whole thing. And so, oh, you're evil, Doctor Strange. I don't think that's cool. And so,
Right. Right.
but it also makes sense that if she is evil at the beginning or corrupted somehow, that she and good Strange could have a fight too. That makes sense. So
Well, I mean, maybe it's because they do like to reuse well-worn stories in some ways. So maybe it's like, evil Strange posing as good Strange, going, "Oh, I can bring your kids back. We can do that." And then as they progress, she's like, "I'm not kind of comfortable with some of the things we're doing here," and then realizes, "Wait, you're not really Doctor Strange, are you?"
yeah,
So,
I mean, but I guess the question is, did they really meet? Do they know each other that well? Because I mean, where would they have seen each other? He was dusted until the end,
well, that's true.
and so was she. So since that time, have they spent a lot of
Well,
time together? I
no,
don't
I
know.
don't mean she'll figure it out because she knows him. It'll just be like some of the things they'll say, like, "Well, in my universe, oh, I mean, he'll slip up because he is arrogant, and
He is arrogant. That's true.
so I
He
think,
protects your reality, douchebag.
yeah."
So
And then she'll find out. It'll be like, don't go down and look in the thing in the basement because that's evil in there, and it turns out it's the good Doctor Strange. Although I guess that's a Harry Potter plot point, so maybe not.
it is. Yeah, they won't
But
necessarily do that, but yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I guess people are like, oh, maybe Wanda will help create the mutants, or maybe this or that or whatever. Although, getting back to What If for a second, this is in my mind, this is the first clear sign in this episode that the Fantastic Four, obviously the Fantastic Four are coming, but
yes,
that because that was Galactus, right? I mean, basically, it's like
totally,
even with the hat and the helmet and everything, it was him eating the planet, which I thought was fucking cool.
yes,
But and then number three, guess what's next? And that sign in the Spider-Man movie, it's like obviously they're coming.
yes,
Whether
yes,
they show up in one of these movies, I don't know, or they'll probably show up in their own movie. But it's just a lot of stuff getting laid, the groundwork getting laid for a lot of things. But I also think What If is a great show for like Marvel people where they can go because Age of Ultron, the movie was not. I mean, it was pretty good, but I don't know if it kind of sold the idea that Ultron was this great villain, which he is
right,
in the
right,
comics. He's like, oh, he's a hugely dangerous being who in the movie kind of gets defeated pretty easily in a way. Yeah,
right.
Sokovia got fucked, but everything else is fine. So in this you get to really see how dangerous Ultron is. His idea of, well, I have to save everyone by killing everyone,
Right. I
which is like
want to
worse
bring
than Thanos.
peace.
Thanos only wants to kill half people. Ultron wants to kill all people.
And not just in his universe. He's like everywhere. I need to bring peace to all of the universes. This will be great.
Yeah, and there's some pretty good idea that this is how Ultron's supposed to be, right? It's like
Right.
he's the ultimate evil baddie. I'm sure he'll get defeated at some point, as defeated as you can be. But you could also make the case that Ultron still exists in the regular MCU too, because, like we talked about, all it would take would be, him
Yeah.
in one computer somewhere, and then that's it. He's
Exactly.
still around, so
He could be
certainly,
hiding out for all we know. It's like, well,
he could be laying low, yeah.
yeah,
Because Good Vision is gone, right? So now we have White
that's
Vision,
right.
but regular Vision's gone. So now Ultron's like, oh, the only other thing that could discover me is now destroyed. So now it's a good time for me to surface
Yes.
again and start wreaking my special brand of.
I think my only, I don't know if I call it a disappointment, but the only thing I did not like about the episode was, and I didn't think they would be able to, but they didn't get James Spader to do Ultron. But the guy who voiced him did a great job, I thought. But just something about Spader's cadence and I know they were scripted, but the way he delivers witticisms was pretty excellent in Age of Ultron.
Yeah,
So
he really brought that character to life, I
yeah.
think, for
So it's a
sure.
little disappointing that he didn't voice it, but that was only like the first few lines, and then I was like, well, nope. So it's somebody else, just go with it, and it was fine. But
Well, I suppose you can make the case that the voice is just generated by whatever, and it could be anybody's voice, really.
Right,
So,
exactly.
but yeah, he was
So,
great, and the fact that he didn't get him, I guess, is just too expensive. But I thought, speaking of voices, I thought Lake Bell did a really good job as Natasha.
she's really
She
good
was,
as Black
yeah,
Widow.
she sounded a lot like Scarlett Johansson. I mean, I know she
Yeah.
wasn't trying to like imitate her, but she did a really good job. And of course, Jeremy Renner comes back for
Yeah,
Hawkeye.
yeah.
But yeah, it was a good episode. It gave a lot of good fan service, but I like the fact that the Watcher is basically the ultimate fanboy. If you think about it, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
He's just watching everything, and Ultron's like, yeah, "This is kind of weird, man. Why are you just watching, you weirdo?"
Yeah, you'll creep.
You creep. But their fight was good. You could see how powerful he is, and but he still was going to lose, which is because he can't do
Yes.
it alone. So he had to fuck off and go get some help. But
That'd be
yeah,
great having the Watcher as a member of the Avengers. That would be awesome. So
well, I mean, I would imagine you don't hire someone like Jeffrey Wright to play a role, just a voice role. I imagine he's, if you're smart, you're going to contract him for any other sort of potential ideas where this character could appear in the real MCU,
Sure.
in the live action MCU, I should say. So I kind of feel like we'll see him again, maybe.
Well, they did have a group of Watchers in was it Guardians end credit scene with Stan Lee? So
Right,
and
Stan Lee was a watcher. Yeah, that's.
so
I love the fact that they did that because it
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. Why was Stan Lee in every movie? Because he's a watcher and he's always there.
Yep. Yes.
Tony Stank. Yeah,
Is there a Tony Stank here? Yes.
yeah. Poor Stan Lee. Good boy, good man.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I just it was a great episode. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to more. And I'm definitely looking forward to
Yes.
see how it ends. Although I'll be a little sad that it ends because it turned out to be a really good show, and I guess there's more. And then of course Hawkeye's coming, which hopefully will be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think they started I want to say either end of last year or early this year on season 2 of What If. So I don't think it'll be a long wait to the second season.
Well,
but
next year.
Obviously, the bittersweet moment will be that I'm imagining this finale will be the last voice performance for Chadwick Boseman for Black Panther. So that'll be
They won't.
bittersweet,
I'm sure
but-
this is the last they'll have of him.
Yeah.
And so that'll be unfortunate. And then of course we'll find out what happens in Black Panther 2.
Yes.
It's got to
Wakanda
be. I, mean,
forever.
I do not envy them at all. I mean, I don't. I mean, making a movie is amazing, but it's got to be really difficult to go forward when that kind of thing happens. It's got to be really difficult.
This is
I mean,
very
they're-
true. The Crow is a good example of that. So.
Yeah, they're professionals and they're going to do what they have to do, and I feel like they'll do it as much justice as they can, but it's still got to be hard. And so this is the hardest one, of course, the second one after
Yeah.
this, and then
I
and then after that it might be easier.
And I know people are going, oh, well, of course they're going to keep going because they're making money off of it. But I am confident, much like with The Crow, because that's my only experience with this, it wasn't just like, well, of course we're going to finish it because we got to recoup our money. That was not, the producers talked with Brandon Lee's mom and his fiance and said, should we go forward with this? We'll stop if you want. And they were like, no, it needs to be finished and put out there so everybody can see it. And I'm sure the same thing was once they actually got to the point, I'm sure they didn't do it immediately, but they were thinking with Black Panther, it's like, do we just scrap the sequel and put that part of the franchise to rest, or do we, continue forward and honor them? And I'm sure it was quite a lot of discussion on what to do, and they decided to go forward. So,
Well, and I would imagine that Chadwick Boseman was involved in that too, because he knew what was happening. And
Right,
He knew
right.
there was a chance that he wasn't going to survive or wasn't going to recover.
right.
And I'm sure he had conversations with Kevin Feige and with Coogler about I think you should. I would imagine that he seemed like the kind of person who would say you should keep going.
Right. Yeah.
You shouldn't stop because of me. You shouldn't stop because I can't be there. You should keep going.
Right.
And the character is more important. I feel like he was probably pretty selfless in that respect. It's like you should keep going and make these movies and
Yeah,
and do whatever you have to do. And I'm sure they're trying to do it, in a lot of ways to dedicate it to him and to honor him, because you don't just give up, right? You just keep going regardless of
yeah.
the regardless of the. I mean, did you have to make 3 other Crow movies? No, not necessarily.
Those
they were,
yeah.
they were all kind of crap. But
Yes.
but whatever.
But I agree
Anyway,
with finishing it, and I think the same thing with Black Panther. I'm looking forward to seeing how they honor not just the character, but Chadwick Boseman, and I want to see more of that world being selfish, because I think they did some great world building with Wakanda and set up a really great premise. So,
Yeah, exactly. Maybe there's a Starbucks in Wakanda now.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe a Starbucks.
Yes.
That was a great line. She's really good at delivering that kind of stuff. She's good. And it's funny to watch her in that, and also watch her in Walking Dead. It was not a complete shift in a way, but like a lot different characters.
Oh yeah.
And so
yeah,
you felt her anguish when T'Challa, dusted away and everything, and it was just a horrible thing. Anyway, I don't want to be too down, so
yeah.
We should anyway. What If, awesome, and looking forward to the finale, and we'll see where it goes. But I think it's going to kind of go where we think it is, which is great. I don't mind that, but I'm hoping there'll be some other surprises. Will the Fantastic Four show up? I don't know. Maybe
that'd be kind of fun.
Like Silver Surfer will just come in at the end and go, "What's up, dudes?"
What's up, dude? Hang 10, bro.
What's cracking?
Yeah.
You guys having a problem? Everything cool?
It's like, good. Okay, good. I'm gonna go on then. Bye bye.
Yeah, because he's still out there somewhere, right? So
yeah. Apparently, though, there's a bunch of people that are theorizing that some of the planets that they fought on through the multiverse were planets from the Star Wars universe. So Star Wars is now canon in the MCU. So,
well, sure, Disney owns that. I mean, but
right.
Freaking stormtroopers could show up in the MCU now or whatever. So
that would be
yeah,
awesome.
they just go to like Tatooine at one point. It's like, what happened there?
That's the multiverse Avengers. We could have Yoda.
I'm just saying, you could definitely have Yoda. Absolutely. Or Grogu. You could have
Grogu is that's a total money grab. It's like, our newest multiverse Avenger, Grogu.
Yes. Grogu. And here's his Avengers outfit for Christmas, just in time.
Yes, exactly. And the action figures with him in his Avengers costume. It's
Dude,
great.
They would sell so many of those.
I would buy all of that.
Listen, I'm not shy. I'm not sad to say that we have at least 3 or 4 Grogus in the house.
Yeah.
Including this, there's one big one sitting right behind me on my shelf.
I 3D printed a Grogu holding a pumpkin for Halloween, for God's sake. So
that's awesome. Yeah. In fact, I think there's more than 3 or 4. But anyway, we have a lot of baby Yodas around here. But anyway,
we're big fans here. So
big fans. Yeah, big fans. What was I going to say? Oh, so next up, Foundation or why? I like to let you pick because you're angrier about things than I am.
Let's go with Foundation. I'm not angry about it.
Well, it makes sense to go to Foundation, I guess, next, because it's also a big what if kind of question. It's like, what if they just got rid of every character in the show, and jump forward and did a whole thing. But I mean, you could make the case that that's what the books did, so maybe they're going to follow the books more closely than we thought. So
I just feel like each episode is like a season's worth of story just condensed into one episode, and then it's like, okay, now we're going forward. It's like, wait, what just happened?
Anyway, we should say spoilers for Foundation if you haven't watched it. But so in this, the character, she's still narrating the show,
right?
But she's not in the show right now, and they've made the case that Harry is definitely dead, right?
Yes.
And so this is 30 years later or 25 years later. The thing that I can follow all of this, no problem. The only thing that was sort of confusing to me was the state of the Empires.
Yes.
Because you still got Lee Pace in there, you still got the same character playing. Now he's playing 2 different roles, and like, oh, that guy aged, so now that's him as an adult, and that's him as an old guy. So okay, I understand now. It took me a second to follow it. That was sad.
Well, the problem I had with that, it was like, 19 years after the Star Bridge was destroyed. And I'm like, so in 20 years, Lee, I mean, maybe the clones age at a different rate.
In 20 years, he aged 40 years.
Right. And then suddenly the kid is, in his 30s.
No offense to Lee Pace, by the way, who looks amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, Lee Pace is not 20, right? He's like 40.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with you. It's like, that's weird that that kid who was maybe 8 or 10, 12
It's like in
at
his
the most.
30s.
He's in his like 30s and 40s now. So
Yeah.
I guess it was confusing, and it's like now this guy, because at first I'm like, wait, is this Dusk or is this whatever?
Right.
And then who is this guy? And then there's another guy, and then but first before that you meet Cleon the first, who's also the same actor,
Right. Right.
which of course makes sense because they're all clones from him. But and then the robot's there, which more closely follows the book.
Well, and that
because
makes sense so that she
'cause
would look exactly the same, but
Well, sure, but she's there for everything. She's basically
yes.
been there the entire time, so that makes sense. And you see Cleon to start with, and all that, and then you go forward to. So it does jump around a bit, and it's a little bit confusing in some respects, especially since the actors are playing all the same parts.
Right.
But then I'm not quite sure why, because this whole cloning thing was invented for the show, right? So I'm not sure why
Yes.
you have to like zap him at the end. Why can't he just die of natural causes?
Right. That part was like, and they make
Why
a
we
big deal ceremony out of it, and I'm like, that's just weird, man. That's creepy.
Well, it's a big deal ceremony, except that it's only them there.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
I was like, why is he disappearing? Because what is the point? What do they do with his ashes or whatever? That didn't make 100% sense. But then I guess you could make the case that you can't have 20 clones running around. Like who, you know? So
Well,
you
yeah, and maybe you don't want like a third of your. I mean, I know it's like the middle one, Brother Day, tends to be the one that makes all the decisions and stuff, but you don't want a third of your ruling council, as it were, to go senile and everything. So it's like, no, it's the right age. You need to go, kind of thing. I guess.
Well, that's what he said in an earlier episode. He's like he's starting to lose it. He's starting
Right,
to
right.
go nutso. So I think that part of it is like he's starting to get a conscience, right? He's starting to realize maybe what they were doing was wrong. Because I think that the robot, I wish I could remember her name. The robot is influencing all of these emperors over time,
Yes.
and so they're becoming more and more like even the emperor who was Dawn, who's now Day, seems more sympathetic, right? He seems more he has more empathy. He like holds the baby. He doesn't seem as tough as the other one.
Well, and
And
there,
so
I think there's some significance to when he was heading down the hallway and the baby was crying, and he's like, something's wrong.
well, because maybe you can only clone things for so much before there's
Right.
errors, right, and problems.
Right. So,
Which of course means, which is what Harry was saying, the empire is going to fall, and maybe this is one of the reasons because
yeah.
the clones are getting crazier or something. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's in a way it's very daring to cut away from all the characters you've established for the first few episodes,
Right.
and start with basically all new people. For the most part, I mean, you've met some of these characters before, but for the most part, it's like an entire new setup, and so
Yeah.
it's kind of ballsy if you think about it.
It's like the first two episodes were just like, well, here's how this all started, and now we're going to get to the actual story. It's,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like since she's narrating the show, I feel like they'll go back to her.
well, and that was the other thing too. It did show them, Planetfall when they got to Terminus, but no mention of like what happened to Raish. Where is he?
Well, I feel like they're seeing that Ghost is him as a kid, though, right?
You think?
Running through with a knife. He's running through the hallway with a knife. Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean,
But
talk
like,
about-
did they
talk about
try
ghosts.
him and execute him for killing Harry? I mean, why isn't he helping set up the colony and all that kind of stuff? So
Well, and why didn't they look for what's her name? She
right,
got
because I
ejected
kind of
from the
feel
ship.
like he was kind of using her as a patsy because he threw the knife in the thing with her and then sent her off and it'd be like, oh my god, she killed Harry and took off, right? So
Maybe.
what happened to him? What happened to Raish?
But I thought that he loved her, and so yeah, there's a whole. I would
Yeah.
imagine that they're going to go back and explain
Yeah.
all of that because I don't think you get someone like Jared Harris necessarily to be in your show and then kill him off in the first two episodes.
Maybe.
I mean, they did that in Mad Men, but he was in like 2 seasons before he hung himself, right?
Right.
So, like, you give him a chance. But maybe not. Maybe the show is actually about these characters and the planet fall and the object that they're trying to approach, and why can she approach the object and no one else can, and et cetera, et cetera. And who are the people in the ship who have bows and arrows? Where are they from?
Right. And I will say that thankfully though the folks on Terminus. I like that storyline, and I like the characters and actors playing them too. So it isn't like, oh well, here's it quickly made me go, well, I do want to know the story with those other characters, but I'm in on this one. I want to see what happens. So
Right. No, I agree with you. I don't mind, and I feel like if this is going to be a long term story, like if they're really talking about 8 seasons, which I don't know if they're going to get that, but
right,
this is you got to settle in. There's going to
yeah,
be a lot of shit happening, and you just got to let it go and let it play out. So I feel like they're not just going to abandon all the characters that they started with, and you're going to revisit what happened to them. We're going to get some idea of where they are or how this device was set up. But I feel like with other shows, there's more of a time jump or more of a whatever jump
oh
in here
yeah,
than we're seeing necessarily. Like there's got to be some different sort of thing because I feel like that ship that or the whatever they call it, the vault, was created by them in the future maybe or something. I don't know. There's got
yeah.
to be something. There's got to be
Well,
something interesting about it. So we'll see.
and maybe it's like, okay, we're going to establish the different time periods that we want to talk about, and so like the rest of the episode will be like, so now that you know, like Gale, now that you know the people on the planet, now that you know the Empire, now we can, kind
Jump
of
back and forth.
yeah, go between all these different stories, and we've established them, and you know what's going on.
Yeah, because they will go back to Gale. They're not just going to leave her in limbo.
No, 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 no.
They will go back to her. They will go back to Raish. They will go back to all of that stuff. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and that's smart because we're going to establish these different timelines, and then we can bounce around, and you won't be as confused as you probably are now. So
Right. We don't have to establish them as we go. We can do them all up front in the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then you'll have that touch point, and we can jump around. So I have a feeling the next few episodes will be more like visiting all those different time points instead of spending a whole episode in one. That's just my
yeah,
feeling.
no,
I could be wrong.
I agree with you.
But
I agree with you. And if the producers know that they're really going to get several seasons, if Apple's committed to that, then they can sort of take their time really and
yeah,
tell the
yeah,
story. And, well, I mean, you're right. It is a lot of story in one episode, but in a way, it's not a lot of story in one episode because if the book takes place over thousands of years, or the books do, then it's just scratching the surface. And it's also getting people used to the idea that you may not follow all the same characters. I mean, some of them may be consistent, like the Empire will be consistent, maybe because it's the same actors, but you might not get the same. You might not get the same characters in some of the other stuff. You might get different people, but I think they will go back to resolve all the stuff that's disappeared so far.
yeah. And I think eventually it's like everything will sync up in whatever time period is going to be the present, which is probably what's going on in Terminus. Gale will show up there older, or Empire will visit or something. But I think eventually, unless this is the format of the show for 8 seasons, but I think eventually you sync up and bring everyone into the present and tell, for the second season, tell a different story with everybody present.
Yeah, you're right. It's like Lost. You finally get all the flashbacks and flash forwards and whatever, but you finally get everyone's on the island together. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Terminus is kind of the sort of where we're going to tell the whole story, and then you're going to get asides about how do we get here and how did this all start and how did this all end, and maybe they'll go really far into the future too, but they've got to show. With the premise of the Empire will crumble in 500 years or whatever. So you've got 500 years of story to tell, and you obviously cannot tell it with the same people unless they're clones of each other, in which case you can. So you're going to have to, at some point, change things up unless you're not going to tell the entire story, which is also possible too. So, but yeah, we'll definitely see. Although, did she go into suspended animation in that?
It was
escape pod?
some sort of thing because it was filled with breathable liquid.
So I wonder. It's like, oh, she's been in there for 500 years.
Yeah, maybe that's like
she's fine.
They finally in 500 years are able to open the vault, and Gale's like,
her.
"Hi."
Like, finally, fuckers,
Hey.
I've been stuck in here for years. What the hell?
Yeah. How long has it been? Well,
You boy, what year is it? Oh.
yes, exactly.
Anyway. So sorry, a little old school literature reference for you.
Nice.
Yeah. So okay. Well, yeah. I'm
still on board.
Clearly going to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not as annoying to me. In fact, it's not annoying at all. Really. It's not nearly as annoying in any respect as Why the Last Man is becoming to me. So yeah. So let's get to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Why? No.
Why?
There are some aspects of the show that I enjoy. Like I like 355, and I like that she is very capable. And I like Dr. Mann. I thought she was funny.
Yes.
And a little nutty, which I appreciate. But then 355 just like disappears, and I understand why. It's like, I'm gonna go get a new whatever transmitter thing. I'm just gonna disappear for a day and just whatever. So I don't know. There was definitely some things I didn't like about it. But I was glad to see Diane Lane come back, and I was glad to see that there's going to be that conflict at the White House or the wherever they are, the Pentagon. That looks interesting. But it's like all the all the men had all these problems, but look, the women have the same problems. So I don't know, but I don't know. It's just annoying. But
I will say that at this point, any of the scenes that Yorick is in are bad and annoying. I have to remember, I was reading the comic, and yeah, Yorick was kind of single-minded on finding Beth and all that in the comic, but he wasn't as stupid and goofy as this Yorick is. And I don't know if it's the actor playing him or the ridiculous stuff they put him in. I'm just like,
the direction or the direction he's being given, or
right. I mean, as soon as like 355 was like, wait here, and having to keep reminding him mask on, and I know they have to have him take the mask off because it's TV, it's a visual thing, but her having to remind him of that all the time, and then leaving him in an alley with a knife, I'm like, well, he's going to do something dumb,
right? He's going to sit there.
And he did. It was,
and not only that, but he lost her knife too. What a dick!
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that was my favorite knife, bitch. Okay.
I mean, my whole thing was when she broke the antenna on the phone. It's like, I got to go fix this. She, if this was the real world, she'd be like, and so long, because I'm tired of your shit.
Yeah, fuck you. I'm out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go live. I kind of didn't understand though. I mean, I thought that was a great scene and good character development for her. Maybe that's all it was for, but I didn't quite understand the whole how she knew to go to that house and what that was. That like a safe house for the agents or what?
No, that was the woman that recruited her into the corporate ring.
Oh, right, okay.
And so and that's also why that other woman was there too.
Right.
It's almost as if they knew something was going to happen, because it's not an organization obviously run by women for the most part. I mean, there's men in it too, but for the most part, it seemed like it was a secret organization run by women. So whether they were eventually, you find out they were involved in the destruction of all Y chromosomes, or whatever, I don't know. But again, we don't know why she was sent to the White House or sent to the Pentagon to be with the president on that day. And the other woman says, I was sent to this on the day. It was the first day, and then this shit happened.
Right.
So obviously something was going on.
Well, and did she just part ways with that woman, or did she kill her, or was it just like, okay, no. Bye? I mean,
no, the woman said after they fought, she's like, yeah, take whatever you need. I got what I need, and so I'm gonna go and I'm gonna fuck off and do this. And so 355 goes back because she's still following orders. She's still a good soldier, and so she'll follow orders to take York now to San Francisco, apparently. So there you go.
Well, I don't know. It just seemed like it would have been a good idea to say, hey, so I'm on this kind of like important mission, and it'd be cool to have a second badass person along.
I don't know that she's allowed to talk about it.
Oh, that's true. Well, they still revealed stuff, even though they're like, well, we're not supposed to talk about it. Yeah, but I'm going to tell you stuff anyway. So,
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, but you can't have, the idea is that she's got to do this alone.
I did like Dr. Mann, though. I'm right. You're right. She was pretty funny. I sort of feel like at this point they're like, so Ampersand's a male. We could kind of quietly leave in the middle of the night and leave Yorick behind and take the monkey and go to San Francisco.
Right. The only problem with that is the monkey can't respond if you ask it questions.
Well, that's true.
How does this feel or whatever? You can't get as much information out of a monkey. So yeah, she was great. She's very manic and very very crazy. And why does she have a crib? I don't know. But anyway, I guess it doesn't matter. But there's more to her story, obviously, than there
Yeah,
is
yeah.
than meets the eye. So, but now
I
I was
just
trying to think. I haven't read the comics in a while, and I was like, I was trying to think how did they extend this out? But I now I remember. I don't remember if they went to San Francisco, but they had to do a more protracted kind of investigation and a more protracted journey. Was that in the comics? I can't remember.
they well, they end up going to like Japan, I think, at some point in the comics, if I'm remembering correctly.
Isn't there like
So
a spaceship, like an orbiting satellite they have to bring down? If I remember, I
yeah,
don't
something
remember.
like
Yeah.
that. See,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
this is why I'm rereading the comics, and I
I
haven't
don't.
gotten very far. But
I don't necessarily want to read it again. Now watching this, I'm like, would I like it as much? I hope I would. So,
he's just not
um,
as he's smarter in the comic. I'm just like, what the
yeah.
hell?
Well, but it's the character has to start one way and grow up. Because the whole point of Yorick in this show, at least, is that he's a fucking typical man
Yeah,
who
yeah,
a typical white male who's failed up basically, or kind of like
right.
had every opportunity and squandered it, and so now is his opportunity to do something for the good of the entire world basically.
Yeah,
But is he too fucking selfish to do it? And so he's got to grow. The whole point of this show is to help Yorick grow up, but also to help society rebuild and whatever. So
yeah, yeah.
for better or worse, he's still very pivotal to the show, but he can't start out as helpful and understanding and whatever. He's got
He
to
could be
start
a
out
little
like
smarter though. I mean, come
well,
on.
I don't know that he's not smart. I just think he's just like a flake.
Yeah,
He never thinks because his mom was paying his rent. He never really think he was like doing his magic and shit, and never
never
had
had
to
any
really have
responsibility. Yeah, I get it.
responsibility. So he's basically like, oh, I could just wander off. It doesn't really matter. And the other thing is he could just still be like in shock about the whole thing because people
Well, I
who
hope
deal
it
with
doesn't last
trauma.
long, because, jeez.
I try to remember that when he's doing stupid shit. But yeah, it's like, oh, he's gonna wander off again. What a dumb fuck.
Well,
Um,
it's going
and
to become a sitcom thing. It's like, oh, what's he going to get into this episode? It's
they're gonna be
like,
like walking around going, Yorick, where's Yorick?
yeah,
Like in like fucking Walking Dead.
wah wah
So
wah.
yeah, but I'm just mad that he lost her knife because that was probably her favorite knife.
Yeah,
So.
that was her favorite night.
What an asshole. Yeah, I would watch. I'm still gonna watch the show because
Yeah,
like I said, I'll give it a season to see what happens. They got it. Yeah, I agree with you though. At some point, he's gotta step up a bit more
I
and
so
stop being such a fucking
yeah.
idiot.
So I'll keep watching the show, but to give you an idea of where I'm at on it. On Friday, I was like, oh, so we're going to talk about this and this and this on the show, and why The Last Man. I'm like, wait a second, have I seen the latest episode? And it was like, oh, I haven't. So it isn't like I'm
It's not
going, ooh,
must see
yeah.
TV.
When's the
Yeah.
next episode? I can't wait. And I mean, if you have a show where the political intrigue is way more interesting and way more exciting than what's going on with the main character, I think there's a problem. So,
Well, is he the main character? I don't know.
what's the show's named after him?
Well, it's The Last Man because he is the last man, but it could be
Right,
a show, that just because that's the comic, obviously that's the IP.
right,
But
right.
is he the main character? I feel like it's more, in some ways, more of an ensemble
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
also 355 story. It's also Hero's story. It's also obviously the president or
right.
Diane Lane's story, and now Dr. Mann's story. I mean, the episode's sort of funny because it's called Manhunt, which I thought was a funny
Yes,
title for an episode.
yes,
But yeah, I think he's just an immature idiot, and he'll realize that his obsession with Beth is a waste of time because she basically told him to fuck off, and he's not used to being told no probably, and he's just not used to being responsible at all. Are they taking it kind of to extremes to show he's a moron? Kind of, maybe too much, but he's got to somehow redeem himself. He's got to have a place to go, right? He needs an arc.
yes, yes.
So at some point, whether it's in this episode or whether it's in this season, I would hope towards this as the season progresses, he's going to start, being more mature.
Right.
But if it's a 3 or 4 or 5 season series, then he can't get too far in the first year.
I guess so. I mean,
So he's got to grow in increments, incremental growth,
yeah.
and just like Hero's got to incrementally grow and sort of become the hero, if you will, that she becomes. But anyway,
We didn't see anything with her. Although I do like, of course, because he's being portrayed as an imbecile, I doubt he'll make the connection. They totally gave Yorick an out for not having to wear the mask all the time anymore. He's like, oh, because when that group encountered him, the woman was like, she could tell that he wasn't completely feminine, and she's like, oh yeah, they have testosterone if you need it and stuff like that, and he's like, oh, that's right. So
yeah, because they can't conceive of an idea. As far as they know, all the men are dead.
Right.
So the idea that there's a man alive is
right.
is not something that they could figure out. So it's like she's.
So is he going to remember that and tell 355, hey, listen, by the way,
No.
I don't need to wear the mask so much because...
No, he wears the mask in the comics, so no.
Yeah, so...
I don't know if he's that aware or if he's that self-aware either, but it was interesting because, they do tend to talk about that a lot in the show with the other character too, who's trans. And it's like, that is an out for him because you don't want one of your main characters to have to wear a mask the entire show, which is the same reason that in like war movies, the heroes always take their helmets off. It's like, we got to see their faces. Like, no one would really do that in combat because that's fucking stupid.
Right.
Or they have their names written on their helmets so everyone knows who everyone is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, we know who we are. We're in the same, platoon, but whatever, it's fine.
Right.
You do you movies. So yeah, for this purpose, he'll remember or he won't. But I feel like you're right. I feel like they're trying to set up an idea that he can have his helmet off or his mask off more, so you don't have to have a main character on the show have a mask on all the time. Although everyone has to wear masks now, so
right. Because exactly, for the show, and also just that everything that all his lines have to be done with ADR later because you can't really understand him under the mask and all that stuff. So they got to come up with a way. Excuse me. They have to come up with a way to make it so he's not wearing the mask all the time, and I think they kind of hit that. So I'll keep watching. I just. I guess maybe this is the one time my expectations were too high, and I'm slightly disappointed by the execution. I don't know.
Well, I feel like any show, it's hard to get going.
Yeah,
it's hard to make any show, and I think they're getting more right than they're getting wrong.
Yeah,
and these are not nitpicky criticisms. They're criticisms. I think they're legitimate based on, we know kind of how TV works and stories work, etc. So will they improve? Yeah, hopefully. Or will this be, because other people I've seen, other reviewers or whatever, talk about how good the writing is and how well the world building is and how, all that stuff, and how it's a good show. And so I think about that. I'm like, well, am I just missing something? I don't know that I am. But everything doesn't, as we always talk about, everything doesn't appeal to everybody. I will give it more time to sort of figure out what it's doing. But yeah, I think they're having a problem with Yorick. I think that's a character that because they're trying to do something different with the show as opposed to the comics, and also in the times that we're in, to try to make it relevant. And so it's just maybe they're having a harder time with him than they would have in the past if it was more of a straight adaptation.
Yeah, and maybe
I don't mean straight like not, you know what I mean, but it was just like a regular adaptation of the show of the comic. So.
And maybe like you said, later in the season, the character's much improved, and they're just kind of like, we have to do these things to get them there, and to mark that improvement. And maybe it's like, well, we don't have a whole lot of time to do it in, so we're just gonna do kind of the cliched things, and then. Maybe it will be in like the second season. We'll be like, wow, that character's so much better now. I hope.
Well, it's his journey, right? He's got to have a journey. So every character has an arc, as we say. Everyone has a journey. 355 will change over time, and Yorick will change over time, and Hero will change. And I think she's going to become super entrenched with Missy Pyle's group, because I think she's going to come back. Actually, I saw in something that she's going to be recurring, so that's cool. Missy Pyle will be.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And playing a character that's more prominent in the comics, actually. So that's going to be the Amazon's group, I think.
Right.
Eventually.
Okay.
And so Hero will get wrapped up in that, and I think that her friend's going to have some problems because why would you want to be a man? They actually say that.
Right.
So there's going to be some tension there, obviously. So we'll get more of that. But this is a show that has a different, and I hate to use the word agenda, but it has different priorities of the story it's trying to tell, and they're not all aligned with a comic book that was written 15 years ago, right?
Right, exactly.
So it's a different story. It's a different time now. And so the white male savior is not going to be the trope they're going to cling to on this one.
Yeah, no,
So
I'm good with that. So
yeah, and I'm fine with that too. And how they're going to explore that, because obviously he's still a main character of the show, one of the main characters, but they're not going to just rely on him to do everything. And the fact that he's such a dope and so so like selfish and stupid is perfect in a way if you think about it, because that's how a lot of people are, and as we've discovered more recently. And so building him back up and letting him mature and change is a good way to do it, I think. So I mean, there are things that annoy me, and you're right. It's stuff we have to just kind of overlook, I think, if we want to stick with the show. If we don't, then I don't think you'd be not justified to say, fuck it, I don't want to watch it anymore. But you're right, because your expectations were higher and mine were too, and they haven't been met yet. But I'm not totally disappointed either, I guess.
no, I'm not at the point of going, well, I'm done with this. I'm like, no, I still want to see what's going on. And I'll give it this season, because I think it's only like 8 or 10 episodes, but
yeah.
It's
But also, it's funny now. It's like I don't want to get too invested in anything, because
if it
shit
gets canceled, yeah,
it's canceled quicker. So
yeah,
and I don't mean because of cancel culture. I just mean because people don't want to make shit anymore,
yeah,
or commit to something. So I'm like, well, I'll give it a chance and I'll stick with it. But if something happens, and you made a funny joke about how you didn't realize you hadn't watched this last episode, and I had to think about it for a second too today. I'm like, did I watch the last episode? And it turned out that I did.
yeah.
Had watched it because I watched it earlier in the week. I think part of the problem is it comes out on like Monday or something. So I'm
Sundays,
like,
I think, and it's just like I don't watch anything.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
I'm confused about what day things are, as you said.
Yeah.
And so I was like, did I watch that already, or do I have an episode to watch? So yeah, it's funny. I don't necessarily like. It would be a lot easier if they just dropped all the episodes. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Then we wouldn't have to worry about what day it comes out. We just watch them all and be done.
Right.
So.
Exactly. Yes.
Anyway, so all right, we should if you're done with what if we went on to picks?
What if?
We're not doing
Yes.
Yeah.
Why don't we go on to picks?
Why don't we go on to picks? Yeah. So do you want to go first, or you want me to go?
Why don't you go first this week?
All right, so I was talking about D&D earlier and my dice and stuff like that. My pick is not dice. My pick is a service called D&D Beyond. Beyond. So if you play D&D, this is geared towards you. I mean, because of the pandemic, this kind of thing became really prominent. People can play online. Not a D&D Beyond, but it's a service where you can keep track of your characters. You can generate characters. You can keep track of like magic items, and they're building more like encounter type stuff in it. But mostly it's a repository for the rule books, and it's a way to create characters on your computer or on your tablet. They have an app for iOS. I think they have a Google app too. But yeah, it's a really cool thing. I was always like, I'm going to play with paper and pencil and write my character sheet, and that's how you had to do it back then, and that's how you had to do it up until a couple of years ago, until I started playing online, during the pandemic, because you can't get together with people, obviously. And so I'm like, I'm going to try D&D Beyond, and it's really cool because like you have all your character stuff in your character sheet, and you have all your weapons, you have all your spells, you have everything, and if you click on the thing next to your weapon, it rolls the dice for you, and it adds all your modifiers, and it'll do the damage for you all on the screen if you want. It'll just roll virtual dice right on your computer. It's kind of cool. And you can do it. There's a free version, and I pay them because I want to create unlimited characters, and I want to share books with other people that I'm playing with, because I own a few books, virtual books. I mean, I own the hard copies too, but I bought the virtual ones too to help support the site. So I subscribe, but if you want a free account, you can get like 5 free characters and use it just like you would if you were paying for it. But it's like $5 a month or $3 a month, so it's not that big a deal if you want to have more things. And they're building more stuff out to try to make it more of a virtual tabletop. Like they're building out things where you can run encounters and create monsters and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of become indispensable. And will I go back to paper and pencil for characters? I don't know. It's pretty helpful. So if you play D&D, especially because it's mostly geared towards D&D, then I would definitely check out D&D Beyond. It's a really great tool, and if you have a couple bucks, I would say it's worth supporting with your dollars. So
I
So there you go.
I
Yeah.
understand next year they're releasing the next edition of D&D. Is that correct?
They're working on 6E.
Ah, interesting.
I've seen a few things about it, but I mean, I don't think 5E is bad. I kind of like it. Some people don't like it because they simplified a lot of stuff and they prefer older versions. And I'm like, well, you can, like we always talk about, you can play those older versions. Feel free. Or you can watch whatever you want. You can watch, shows that people like. You don't have to watch stuff now. But yeah, I don't know when it's going to come out. It definitely will come out because they have to obviously update it so they can. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's a business, right? They can't just let it be stagnant. At some point, there has to be an update and stuff for you to buy. I mean, they keep coming out with new books, and some of the books are really cool, and they keep coming out with new adventures and things. And that's the other thing that's cool on D&D Beyond. Everything that comes out from the guys who make D&D, all their adventures, all the books are on D&D Beyond too. So you can like click on that and you have all access to all the stuff, and the monsters automatically populate, and you can do all kinds of things like that. So it's a really cool tool, and I'm sure it will integrate with sixth edition, which is a hard thing to say apparently. But anyway, that's my pick. And as an analog person who loves pencils and pens and shit, it was weird to make that transition. But now I don't, like I said, I don't know if I'll ever go back. So
Nice.
yeah,
Cool.
it's cool.
This week I'm going to pick a book. I'm going back to literature for my pick. And it's actually
Luddite.
I know, and it's a Star Trek book, oddly enough. So keeping it sci-fi. So there is for the last 20 years, the Star Trek novels have kind of been the quote unquote present day of Star Trek from Star Trek Nemesis forward, right? So because I mean, for a number of years there were no Star Trek series. Except for like Enterprise at the time when the novels really got going. And that was in the past. And then, they rebooted the movies with the Kelvin verse. So really, the Star Trek books, much like the Star Wars novels for a period of time, were the only way to keep up with the present day ongoing shenanigans involving your favorite characters in Star Trek. Now, of course, we have a plethora of Star Trek shows, some of them in the quote unquote present day of the Star Trek universe with Picard and things like that. And many of those shows have contradicted things that were established and set up in the novels, much like a show's going to do. I mean, that's the source of truth, right? So instead of going the Star Wars route and just saying, okay, well, we're just going to toss those out as they're not canon anymore, and they're just legacy books or alternate universe or whatever. Three of the writers of the Star Trek novels came up with a master plan to do a trilogy of books that did a sci-fi kind of retconning reorganization of the literary universe to more align with the ones we see on shows. So,
Nice.
yeah, so the first book in that trilogy, Moments Asunder by Dayton Ward, just came out. And yeah, it's a pretty great book. Dayton Ward, John Jackson Miller, and David Mack are the three writing the three books for the trilogy. And all three of them are fantastic writers, not just Star Trek writers, but writers in general. So it's there's a lot of, because it's a realigning continuity um, and things like that. You can get away with doing things to characters you probably wouldn't if it was a TV series and stuff like that. So there's a lot of shocks, a lot of interesting ideas and storylines that are established in this first book, and it's a fun read. If you've read the Star Trek novel series, many of them over the last 20 years, like I have, and kept up with the continuity, there's a lot in there for you, and it's a lot to surprise you and shock you. But even if you're just a casual Star Trek fan, you're like, I kind of want to see what this is about. It's still a great read and does some fantastic things with characters you know and love. So anyway, the trilogy is called Star Trek Coda, and like I said, book one, Moments Asunder, is out now by Dayton Ward, and the next two follow next month and the month after. So there you go.
Cool. It's funny. I haven't really read a lot of tie-in books or extended universe books. Like haven't read too many Star Wars novels. I read some of the Chuck Wendig books.
Yeah.
And I haven't really read very many Star Trek books. Like, I mean, I read Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which is not super new.
Yes.
And I read, of course, the Star Wars novelizations and all that stuff. But I don't know. I was never a person like I really need to know what happens in between the movies kind of person or whatever.
Right.
I'll just wait for the movies to come out because although back then like I was telling my son, he was shocked that I'm like, when Star Wars came out, we had to wait 3 years to find out what happened.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like the internet or whatever. It wasn't like there was a TV show to bridge the gap. We had to wait 3 fucking years to find out what happened to Luke and Han and everybody.
Right.
And so it's like, and then another 2 years or whatever after that to find out what happens. Is Han in the carbonite? What the hell? What's going to happen?
When's he going to get free? Man, he's been in there forever. What the hell?
Been in there forever, yeah. So, and then to get Return of the Jedi, man, what a disappointment. Anyway. Sorry, that's a totally different episode. But
okay.
Yeah, it wasn't that disappointing, but it was not as good. After watching Empire Strikes Back, it was kind of a letdown, let's be honest.
That's fair.
But yeah, you actually make this sound interesting. And so I might have to jump on that. So that's cool. I like maybe I'll find a whole new bunch of things to read because I do like Star Trek and I do like.
I mean, there's a ton of Star Trek and Star Wars stories out there, and I'm. To me, I don't care about canon and all that kind of stuff. I'm just like, I want good stories about the characters that I like. I mean, there's an old joke that there are so many novels and comics done with the original series characters that take place during the 5-year mission. They're like, well, there's way more than 5 years worth of story there. But to me, I don't care. I just want good stories with the characters I like. I like the fact that at some point, in the Next Generation time frame with Next Generation Deep Space Nine and Voyager, they kind of created this ongoing continuity and interlinked stories and really kind of world build the Star Trek universe into something different and unique and special. And, like I said, as soon as Picard came out, it's like, yeah, most of that is not valid anymore, but and it's very easy, like they did with Star Wars, just to say, well, those are just books. Nobody cares, and we'll just put them aside. But there are a lot of passionate fans for the Star Trek novels, much like the Star Wars books. So I like that they're doing something different this time. It's like, we'll do something and do a science fiction-y handwave thing. Basically in this trilogy, they're facing something that is erasing alternate universes and attacking reality as they know it. So obviously at the end of it, it's going to be some sort of realigned universe that fits in with what is established in the TV shows. But it'll be fun. It's really cool.
Wait, does Disney own Star Trek too? Because it sounds like a multiverse problem.
No, they don't. But
not yet.
Not yet.
They haven't bought CBS yet, but it's coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sounds cool. It sounds really cool. I mean, I remember reading, and then we can go after this, but I remember reading like the Star Trek the motion picture novel.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and there was like a footnote about how, I think we talked about this before. There's a footnote about how there was like no evidence that Kirk and Spock ever fucked.
Right.
I was like, why is that in this book at all?
Yeah.
First of all, they were pals. Spock loved Kirk and Kirk loved Spock, but in a platonic way. They didn't have sex. Sure. Because Spock only has sex every 7 years, first of all. And second of all, it's like, why? As a kid, I'm like, why is that in there? It didn't make any sense. But and maybe that's what turned me off from reading novelizations. I don't know.
Well, that's not in the novel. Anyway. That's more / fanfic.
No, but it's in the official book. It's like there's a footnote in the official book where it's like, and that's also where I learned that James T. Kirk's middle name was Tiberius.
Right. Exactly.
Because that was the first time I'd ever seen that. So I was like, Tiberius? Who's that? So I had to deep dive into who Tiberius was.
Well, the book after that, they finally, that I loved it. There was a book called The Entropy Effect that took place after the motion picture, and there was the first pocket books Star Trek novel. And I was like, wow, a brand new story I'm going to read. And that was the first book that brought up Sulu's first name, Hikaru. So
I think I read that too, actually. I think I did read that. And probably it was just, I do remember reading a lot of Star Wars comics, a lot of Star Trek comics, and of course watching the Star Trek animated series and all that stuff, and every series that's ever happened. But I guess it was never a thing like I need to know what happens especially books not about the characters that I cared about. Like,
Right.
I'm not gonna. I didn't really wasn't interested in Star Wars books about characters that weren't Han, Luke, and Leia.
Right. Right.
As it turns out, I don't really care about that. I mean, I probably do now, but like Thrawn was a cool character, and people like that. And there were some things that I enjoyed, and that's probably the same reason I didn't watch Star Wars Rebels and a lot of other Star Wars tie-in stuff. Although I do enjoy the Mandalorian. So
I just want to see my favorite characters, but. The novels too is where,
and then they were treated them all so badly. But
the novels is where Uhura's first name was first mentioned too. So,
right,
and both those first names ended up in the movies and TV shows. So,
well, they ended. I think the first time that I remember seeing them in a movie though was in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
Yeah,
because Spock calls her by her first name.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah,
and like, oh really? Yeah, but. He definitely managed to get in James Tiberius Kirk in that one. So
yes.
I would just go with T. But he does say James T. Kirk always. Kirk always said his middle initial, which I thought was ballsy.
Well, it's, I'm being professional.
He was such an alpha male. He just come into the briefing room and unzip his pants, put his giant cock on the table, and go, "I'm the captain, motherfuckers."
I'm James T. Kirk.
I am James T. Kirk. The T stands for testosterone, motherfucker.
Except for in the second pilot where it was James R. Kirk, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, let's not think about that. Yeah. In the second pilot, not the cage in Menagerie. Wait.
Yeah, the second. It ended. Yeah.
The cage was the first pilot, and then Where No Man Has Gone Before was the second pilot.
Right.
Was it James R. Kirk and Where No Man Has Gone Before?
Yeah, Where No Man Has Gone Before. That was the first one with Kirk, and at the end when he's fighting Mitchell makes a gravestone for him, and it says James R. Kirk on it.
Yeah, that's right. It does. That's right. Holy shit.
Yep.
So they didn't know his name was Tiberius. That's funny.
No. So
interesting.
So people that want to nitpick continuity in Star Trek shows, it's like, well, from the very beginning, they didn't really align and know what they were doing. So
maybe that was a nickname that Gary had for him in the academy. It was like R for like retard or something. I shouldn't say retard, obviously, but it's like James Retard Kirk.
So he's mocking him. Yes.
He's mocking him in death. Yeah, I'm going to destroy you with my superpowers.
Believe me, there have been whole essays that are thousands and thousands of words that have gone to great lengths to explain why that tombstone said James R. Kirk.
So. I believe it, and it's like the same thing about we were talking about before we started recording the show, or before this episode. We're talking about what happens to James Bond, because James Bond's movie is coming out. But
right.
that guy wrote an entire essay about why James Bond is not his balls are destroyed and he can't have sex anymore.
Right,
so
right.
If you want to find that, you should go look for it. It's pretty funny. But I'm actually going to look for the essays about why it's James R. Kirk. I've never read anything like that. I'm sure it's fascinating.
Oh, there's So
yeah, that's so funny. And I've seen that episode. Obviously, I say obviously a lot. I've noticed.
You obviously do.
Obviously, I do, and it's nothing is obvious sometimes. But I've seen that episode and all episodes of Star Trek, especially the original series, many times, like 50 times each one, probably.
Yeah.
And I didn't remember that, and just till you said that, it's funny. So it's weird what you remember. I sometimes think about that episode and then Charlie X. It's kind of almost the same episode, really.
Yeah,
Charlie
kind of
has the same kind of powers. Only he wishes people to the cornfield, but the cornfield is in space. So
yeah, that's you might live in the cornfield, but not in space.
Right, because that's where Kirk is from. He's from Iowa, where they have corn.
Right.
Exactly. Weird. Anyway, all right. So find the Flickcast at Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Google Podcasts and other places you find things. Joe is at What Joe Writes on the socials. I am at Chris Yu, and of course the Flickcast is at TheFlickcast, and at our website. Patreon.com/the Flickcast if you want to give the show a few bucks. We also have Instagram, which is also the Flickcast, and that's getting updated. And you can also find the show at YouTube. It's not Joe and I on camera yet, although we're still leaning that way. But you can listen to the episodes if you don't want to subscribe on a podcast service. You can listen to the episodes on YouTube, and people do that, it turns out, which is kind of nice. So thank you for that. And, if you want to give us a rating or a review, it's very, very appreciated, especially the rating, because it takes 2 seconds to press a button, and say 5 stars. These guys are amazing. Or, they're idiots. One or the other. It's either or. It's not shades of gray. It's black or white. Either you're amazing or you suck.
Exactly.
It's the worst thing I've ever heard, or it's the most amazing thing.
There is no middle ground.
There's no middle ground. So Anything else, Joe?
I think that's probably it.
All right, cool. So for Joe Dilworth, I am Chris Ulrich. That was the Flickcast. Thanks so much for listening.